Hello everyone, welcome back for the biology class. I hope you are doing well. Today we are going to study carbohydrates. Okay, so carbohydrates. What are carbohydrates? Carbohydrates means they are the hydrates of carbon. Carbohydrates means they are the hydrates of carbon. They are also called saccharides. Saccharides means sweet taste. Saccharides means sweet taste. So they got the name saccharide. Okay. Now if you see these carbohydrates, they are generally made up of three elements. That is carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. Carbohydrates are made up of three elements: carbon, hydrogen, oxygen in the ratio of 1:2:1. In the ratio 1:2:1. Here if you see, there is carbon and this H2, hydrogen and oxygen are in the ratio of in the ratio of 2:1. That is H2O. Like in water, water has two hydrogen and oxygen in the ratio of 2:1. So this H2 and O, this is water. So in carbohydrates there is carbon and water, so it is called as hydrates of carbon. Okay, why we call carbohydrates as hydrates of carbon? Because they have carbon plus water, so they are the hydrates of carbon. The general formula of carbohydrate is CnH2nOn. CnH2nOn. This is the general formula of carbohydrates, and based on the number of sugar units present in the carbohydrates, based on the number of sugar units present in the carbohydrates, there are mainly three types of carbohydrates. Based on the number of sugar units present in carbohydrates, there are three types of carbohydrates. First is monosaccharides. Mono means one, so there is only one sugar unit present in this carbohydrates, and so they are called as monosaccharides. Monosaccharides, they are made up of only one sugar unit. The second type of carbohydrates are disaccharides. These disaccharides, they are made up of two sugar units. Di means two. So there are two sugar units present in this carbohydrates, and that is why we call them as disaccharides. There is third type of carbohydrate, that is polysaccharides. Polysaccharides, they are made up of many sugar units. There are many sugar units. As many sugar units they form these carbohydrates, they become complex. So they are complex carbohydrates. Many sugar units are present, and that is why we call them as polysaccharides. Poly means many. So these carbohydrates, they are made up of many sugar units, and that is why we call them as polysaccharides. Again, now today we will just discuss about monosaccharides in detail. Monosaccharides, already we discussed just now that it is made up of one sugar unit. Monosaccharides, they are made up of only one sugar unit. Monosaccharides are the simplest carbohydrates, or they are the simplest sugars. Monosaccharide is the simplest sugar with crystalline structure. They are sweet in taste and they are soluble in water. They are crystalline structure. Monosaccharides have crystalline structure. They are sweet in taste and they are soluble in water. They are building blocks. We call monosaccharides as building blocks, or we call them as monomers. Monomers means single unit which comes together, forms chain, and then it forms a large compound or complex compound. That way, monosaccharides, they are building blocks or monomers of complex carbohydrates. Complex carbohydrates, they are made up of monomers. Many monomers, they come together, they form chain, and then they form the complex carbohydrates. So monosaccharides, they are the building blocks or monomers of complex carbohydrates. The general formula of monosaccharide is same like glucose, that is CnH2nO. CnH2nO. They can have 3 to 7 carbons in the monosaccharides. In the monosaccharides, the number of carbons can be 3 to 7, and based on the number of carbons, monosaccharides are further classified into different types. Like for example, if the monosaccharides, they have 3 carbons, then they are called as triose. If there are 3 carbons present in monosaccharides, we call them as triose. Example, glyceraldehyde. Example, glyceraldehyde means what? Glyceraldehyde is a 3 carbon compound. Second is 4 carbon compound. Suppose if there are 4 carbons present in monosaccharides, then they are called tetrose. Example is erythrose. Example is erythrose. If there are 4 carbons present in monosaccharides, they are tetrose. Example, erythrose. If there are 5 carbons present in monosaccharides, it is called pentose. Example, ribose in RNA. There is RNA and DNA. So in RNA, that ribose is 5 carbon compound, is pentose, and the deoxyribose in DNA. That deoxyribose is also 5 carbon compound. so it is pentose sugar. Then that is 6 carbon. If the monosaccharide is having 6 carbons, then it is called hexose sugar. It is called hexose sugar. Example: glucose, fructose and galactose. Glucose, fructose and galactose. They all are hexose sugar. And if the monosaccharides have 7 carbons, then the monosaccharides are called heptose. 7 carbons if they are present in monosaccharides, then we call them as heptose. Example is pseudoheptulose. Example is pseudoheptulose. So this is all about the general detail of monosaccharides. Now further we have to discuss about the hexose sugar, glucose, fructose and galactose. This hexose sugars we have to study in detail. We are going to discuss about the first type of carbohydrate, that is monosaccharides. Monosaccharides, it is made up of one sugar unit, so it is called as monosaccharides, right? And they are the building blocks of complex sugars, or they are the monomers of complex carbohydrates. They come together and they form complex carbohydrates. Monosaccharides, they can have two functional groups in it. If monosaccharides they have aldehyde group as a functional group, as a aldehyde in them, then monosaccharides are called aldose sugar. If monosaccharides they have aldehyde group as a functional group in them, then that monosaccharide is called aldose sugar. If there is a ketone group present in the monosaccharide, then that monosaccharides are called ketose sugar. So there are two functional groups can be present in monosaccharide. One is aldehyde group and another is ketone group. If aldehyde group is present in sugar, then monosaccharide, then it is aldose sugar. If ketone group is present in monosaccharide, then it is ketose sugar. So we have to study these both examples of monosaccharides. We are going to discuss about hexose sugar, that is glucose and fructose, and we'll study their structure in detail. We'll see what is the difference between glucose and fructose. So first we'll discuss about glucose. Now the general formula of glucose is C6H12O6. C6H12O6. So glucose is a 6 carbon compound, so it's a hexose sugar. Glucose contains 6 carbons, so it's a hexose sugar, that is a monosaccharide. Glucose, they have aldehyde group present in them. In glucose, there is an aldehyde group present in them, that is CHO group is present, aldehyde group is present in glucose, so it is glucose is a aldose sugar. Glucose is a aldose sugar. And glucose is a fuel for living cell. We know that during cellular respiration, glucose gets oxidized, it is broken down to release energy, and it provides energy, which acts as a fuel in the living cells. Okay. Now glucose, they are small and they are soluble in water. Glucose is small and they are soluble in water, which makes the easy transportation of glucose in all different parts. As they are small and soluble in water, they can easily pass through the cell membrane and go into the cell. So the transportation of glucose becomes easy. Okay. And the structure of glucose, if you see, it can be open structure or it can be a ring structure. Open structure can be converted into ring structure, and ring structure can be converted back into the open structure. So here if you see, this is the open structure of glucose, which is a linear structure or straight chain structure. If you see, there are 6 carbon in glucose, C6H12O6. So there are 6 carbon. If you count, these are the 6 carbon. Carbon number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. There are 6 carbons present in the structure of open structure of carbon. The functional group, aldehyde group, is present at the terminal carbon. So this is the terminal carbon, the end carbon or the last carbon. It is called the terminal carbon. And the functional group, aldehyde group, is attached to this terminal carbon. The second carbon, if you see, the OH group is on the right hand side and hydrogen is on the left hand side. On the second carbon, OH group is on the right hand side and hydrogen is on the left hand side. This arrangement is changed, or it is opposite on the third carbon. On the third carbon, OH group is on the left hand side and hydrogen is on the right hand side. OH is on the left hand side on third carbon and hydrogen is on the right hand side. So the second and third carbon, this arrangement is opposite. But for the fourth, fifth and sixth carbon, the OH group is again attached on the right hand side and hydrogen is on the left hand side. Okay, OH is on the right hand side for fourth, fifth and sixth carbon, and hydrogen is on the left hand side again, like the second carbon. Now what happens is when this when this glucose, this open chain structure of glucose, when it gets converted into ring structure, the hydrogen of first carbon, and the OH of fifth carbon, hydrogen of first carbon and OH group of fifth carbon, it is given out. So in short, water is given out, H2O is given out, and the first carbon forms bond with the fifth carbon. So there is a bond formation between first carbon and fifth carbon of glucose, and then it forms a ring structure. It forms a hexagonal ring. The bond formed between first and fifth carbon of glucose is called glycosidic bond. It is called glycosidic bond. Okay, and though it is a hexagonal ring which contains oxygen, one oxygen is present in the hexagonal ring. The first carbon is over here on the ring, second carbon is on the ring, third carbon is also on the ring, fourth carbon and fifth carbon, they all are on the ring. Sixth carbon is outside, it is not on the ring, it is branched over here at fifth carbon. Sixth carbon is not on the ring, but it is branched at the fifth carbon outside. So though it's a hexagonal ring, but there are only 5 carbons present in the ring and 1 oxygen. 5 carbons and 1 oxygen is present in the hexagonal ring of glucose, and that is why this ring of glucose is called pyranose ring. It is called as pyranose ring. Understand? So this is the structure of glucose. Let us discuss about the structure of fructose. Now fructose is also a hexose sugar. The formula of fructose is same like glucose, C6H12O6. Molecular formula of glucose and fructose is same, but their arrangement is different, and that is why glucose and fructose are called isomers. Okay, they are called isomers because molecular formula is same, but their arrangement is different. In fructose, the functional group which is present is ketone group. Okay, the functional group present in fructose is ketone group, C double bond O, and that is why fructose is a ketose sugar. If you see the structure again, this is the structure. There are 6 carbon present in the fructose open structure. The ketose group, the functional group in fructose, is attached on the sub-terminal carbon and not on terminal carbon. In glucose we saw the functional group is at the terminal carbon. Here in fructose the functional group is attached to the sub-terminal carbon, the second carbon. This is terminal carbon first and second is sub-terminal carbon. So the functional group, the ketone group, is present on the second carbon of fructose. Okay, so when the ring structure is formed, the bond between second carbon and fifth carbon is formed. The bond between second and fifth carbon is formed during the formation of ring structure of fructose. And the ring which is formed in fructose, that is pentagonal ring, which contains one oxygen, and there are only 4 carbons on the ring of fructose. The first carbon is outside here, it is branched. Second carbon is on the ring, third carbon is on the ring, fourth carbon is on the ring, fifth carbon is also on the ring, and sixth carbon is also branched. It is outside the ring. So first and sixth carbon, they are branched, they are outside the ring, and only 4 carbons are present in the fructose ring. So 4 carbon and 1 oxygen is present in the fructose ring structure, and that is why this ring structure of fructose is called furanose. The ring structure of fructose is called furanose ring. Okay, so this is the structure of the fructose. So generally, what is the difference? Glucose is a aldose sugar, fructose is a ketose sugar. Glucose, the functional group present is aldehyde. In fructose, the functional group present is ketone group. The functional group is attached to the terminal carbon of glucose, and in fructose the functional group is attached to the sub-terminal carbon, that is the second carbon. During the formation of ring structure in glucose, the bond formed is between first and fifth carbon. It's a glycosidic bond. And in fructose, the bond is formed between second carbon and fifth carbon. Again, the bond formed is glycosidic bond. Okay, now both glucose and fructose, they are reducing sugars. Okay, glucose and fructose both are reducing sugars. So that is all about this the detailed structure of glucose and fructose. Both are hexose sugar. There is one more example, that is galactose. Galactose is similar to glucose. Galactose is similar to glucose. But glucose can be available. Galactose can be available in alpha or beta form. Galactose can be available in the alpha or beta form. Now galactose it cannot be easily converted into glucose, and glucose cannot take cannot play the role of glucose. Galactose cannot play the role of glucose. Okay, but they are galactose is similar to glucose. Okay, so these are the three examples which we have discussed in monosaccharides of carbohydrates: glucose, fructose, and galactose. All three are hexose sugar, as they contain 6 carbon in them, so they are hexose sugar, they are monosaccharides. So I hope you have understand everything. We will meet in the next video now. In the next video we will discuss the second and third type of carbohydrate, that is disaccharide and polysaccharide, in detail with their examples. Till then, you all take care. Goodbye. Have a nice day.